1 day. It took 1 day to prove to the entire world Spider-Man is the greatest character of all time.
Undisputed, undefeated, untouchable, the Amazing Spider-Man!
Take the train off!
Hey, Freak Show! You're going nowhere! I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of heat time!
Holy freaking crap. This far exceeded my expectations. This far exceeded everyone's expectations, except these guys. These guys will never be happy, especially this guy.
Spider-Man Brand New Day is the most retarded piece of shit I've seen in a very long time.
Shut your up. Alright, before I start blasting my glaze all over this trailer, pause. This trailer has me thinking, how? Why? How and why did this become not only the biggest superhero trailer of all time, not only the biggest movie trailer of all time, but the biggest trailer of all time? Well, debut trailer of all time. But you know what? Brand New Day didn't just beat the previously set record. Not by a million, not by a few million, not even by 100 million, but it beat it by 242 million views. It absolutely decimated GTA 6. We literally have Spider-Man outranking and outbeating GTA 6 before GTA 6. What even is 2026? But again, I have to ask, how? And to answer that properly, I feel like I have to break it up into 3 different answers. Starting off, first, the obvious. The marketing that had the entire internet talking about the movie, whether it be positive or negative, before the trailer was even released. On March 17th, Tom Holland posted the video that started one of the most unique and divisive marketing strategies since the Endgame teasers, which, albeit, was only a few months ago. But despite personally being kind of annoyed because my entire timeline was filled to the brim with the same 2-second clips 50 times in a row all throughout the day, it accomplished what it set out to. Absolutely dominate and flood every platform, every For You page, every corner of the internet with one simple truth. He's here. And he looks absolutely f***ing beautiful. Having the first clip that was released out of the eventual 22 being one of the 3 highly stylistic shots that are an almost one-to-one reference to classic Spider-Man comics isn't the trailer's way of dangling keys in front of your face. It's a promise. It's a promise to the audience, to the fan base that has been desperately begging the studio to do what it hasn't done with the character in over a decade. Make Peter Parker comic accurate. Make him feel like Spider-Man. Not to rehash the talking points I already made in my last video about this movie or trailer, which is only 2 videos ago. I promise I'll talk about more things than just Spider-Man, but anyways, to reiterate from what I said from that video is that the biggest criticism that this version of Spider-Man, of Peter Parker, is that he never truly embodied the character the same way Toby or Andrew did, or even how Peter B. Parker did. He was always held back by the broader MCU, wearing $1 million suits, taking on literal titans, teaming up with the Guardians and Doctor Strange, before ever hearing the words,
"Remember, with great power comes great responsibility."
As much as we all enjoyed seeing him interact with these characters, it felt like going into a 5-star restaurant and instead of ordering a satiating meal, you head straight to the dessert. Sure, it tastes really good and it spikes your dopamine receptors like no other, but after you take the last bite of your cake, you realize you're still hungry. You should have gotten this steak before diving into the unfulfilling but albeit amazing dessert. The fans are still hungry. They're pining for that satiating, filling meal and are all sugared out. And this trailer promises a juicy, fully satiating 10-ounce steak. So as these clips continue to drop during the day, conversations were being had, theorists were theorizing, people were breaking down literal 2-second clips. So yeah, it got to a point where it's kind of annoying, but it was brilliant and it worked. 700 million views later and thousands of edits later, which can we just talk about? What the hell are they feeding editors nowadays? Am I the only one that had nonstop banger after banger when it comes to edits being in their feed, not even 2 hours after the trailer was released? Holy crap, man, I need to step up my game. But anyways, on to the next reason. This trailer did something that other Marvel movies, specifically Doomsday, cannot do. With the much anticipated release of the next Avengers movie only being less than a year away now, I don't think the word anticipation can be really described as an excited anticipation. I think it falls more under the category of anxious anticipation. But as literally all of you know, there has been a very steady decline of Marvel demand. I'm not going to peddle this lie of the quote-unquote superhero fatigue phenomenon, because let's just be honest with ourselves, that's just not real. For example, just look at the cultural impact something like has had in its 4-year run as a TV show adaptation. This in itself is evidence that the fatigue is not rooted within the genre itself. But to contradict myself not even 10 seconds later, it's not even the lack of Marvel demand per se. The fatigue of MCU movies is created by the lack of characters we give a damn about. This in itself has created a vacuum within the superhero genre. Can you remember the last Marvel movie you actually cared about a character, like really gave a damn where they ended up by the time the credits rolled? I can. 3 years ago with If I'm being completely honest, this was the last time I can remember people were almost unanimously praising a Marvel movie. And no, not because of the cameos or the fan service. Again, not to retread talking points for my first video. Go watch. But as much as I adore No Way Home, yes, its success was driven because of these two guys. And these guys. Not so much the one we are supposed to care about. I'd arguably say that Guardians 3 was the last Marvel project that was able to successfully make the audience actively care what happens to its characters. I'm not going to say that this movie was perfect. It's not, but James Gunn was able to give a satisfying end to characters that the audience actually had an emotional connection to. Is there any other movie since Endgame that has been able to successfully do this? I can't think of one. At the peak of the MCU, sure, we had some stinkers here and there, but why Infinity War and Endgame were so beloved and revered is because it was built up through years of semi-cohesive storytelling that did two things. One, establish our foundational characters that would be at the helm of the cumulative movies. Cumulative? Cumulative? Cumulative.
Cumulative.
But with multiple entries that made the audience care about their character, and actually gave them character arcs that were fully fulfilled in these movies. This literally cannot be said for Doomsday. The care that the audience should have for this movie and the cast of characters is fabricated and enchanted with the almighty and powerful nostalgia lazul, because hey, it worked so well for this movie and this one, because the majority of characters that are in this movie that belong to the MCU universe are underbaked and underdeveloped. The stakes of Doomsday are so monumental that it becomes almost impossible for anyone to compute or understand, thus creating a viewer with more apathy than actual care. Sure, seeing entire timelines wiped out by Doom might cause an emotional reaction from the audience, especially if that world is tied to characters that were established 2 decades ago. But that's so cheap. I have the feeling that most Marvel fans are tired of these massive multiversal consequences and miss when we actually cared about the characters and what they— Alright, I need to stop myself before I rant for 10 minutes straight. I might just make a video for it once the damn trailer drops for it. Come on, Marvel. Dune 3 already dropped theirs. Where are you at?
Are you sure?
But tying back to Spider-Man Brand New Day, this problem is completely solved. This trailer makes the promise that this will be Peter's story, with, of course, a fun amount of supporting characters that exist within the MCU, but that's literally a part of the deal, not only between Sony and Marvel, but because he does in fact exist within a larger universe, so of course he's gonna run into someone else that exists. Despite the potential side character interference, this trailer is showing the viewer that, yes, we are giving you a Spider-Man that is hurting, that is alone, that puts his responsibilities before anything else, even when it destroys him emotionally. This trailer is telling the fans, we know how much you love the ending of No Way Home, Peter having a practical suit that he has to make himself, that he has to pay rent now, and that despite promising the 2 people he was closest with that he'd tell them everything after their memory got wiped, he still hears the words of his dying uncle. I mean aunt. He realizes that his gift is also his curse, that him being Spider-Man will always put those he's closest with in danger. But with that sacrifice, it comes with complete isolation. Him being broke, being heartbroken, is not done to fulfill legitimate audience sadism. It makes the character relatable. Which brings me to my third and final point. The third reason I think this trailer did so well is because it's Spider-Man through and through. His suffering being celebrated by the fans isn't because we're a bunch of sadistic fiends that love seeing our protagonist in the trenches for the fun of it. Well, not all of us, of course. Not to reiterate again, but it's because we're getting a version of this character we can really relate to, that experiences struggles that many of us have gone through, struggling to pay rent, juggling responsibilities, losing friends, loved ones, relationships, heartbreak, loneliness. But he also acts as one of the most inspirational fictional characters ever. Despite all the trials and tribulations, the times of hurt, the times of despair, the times where he feels like giving up and giving into his selfish nature, he still chooses the mask. He still chooses his responsibility. This is what was missing with this version of this character. So yeah, this trailer is perfect when it comes to nailing and capturing that tone, making that promise to the audience. And not to mention how unbelievably gorgeous some of these shots are. I legitimately have zero idea how some people are complaining that this movie looks bad, but I can't help but look at some of these shots and be taken aback at how much color is present. Wrong trailer. Even with the cooler tones, the movie actually looks like it's been properly color graded. I mean, for example, take a look at the scene of Peter at May's grave in this trailer and compare it to No Way Home. Massive difference. And then to take it a step further, look at how much color is present in this party sequence in this trailer versus the homecoming party sequence. It makes it look like the homecoming party sequence is literally an SNL skit. But to stop myself from being absolutely coped out of my gourd, I do have to state that I have some worries, of course. I think the biggest thing that could ruin this film is focusing too much on the other characters. And I have a good feeling this won't happen, especially when it comes to Frank. With the upcoming Punisher special, I'm sure we'll get a very condensed summary of what happened in that show, hopefully through the means of a new version of an iconic rooftop scene that is seemingly what's happening in this shot. This is probably the most exciting cameo / supporting character in this movie, given not only the actors' history with each other, but also the fact that the Punisher literally made his debut in his Spider-Man comic way back in 1974. But in all honesty, I have full faith that any interaction between these two will be gold, just like with Daredevil. Speaking of, this shot has to involve him, right? There's just no way that the big DD doesn't show up at all. If you know ball, you know that this shot was already seen way back when this trailer itself got leaked on Twitter like 3 months ago, but everyone thought it was AI, but nope. This shot in particular has an entirely different background in the leaked trailer. You're just gonna have to trust me on this one, but in the leaked trailer, instead of a cityscape backdrop, it's actually inside a prison, which I can only assume that it happens before this scene. And due to the fact that the hand is very much Maddie's ordeal, we can all come to the reasonable conclusion he is indeed a part of this movie. At the time of this recording, only 4 episodes of Born Again Season 2 has dropped, and oh, it is good. So I can't really speculate how it's going to end or how it would affect Brand New Day or even the Punisher special, but if we see the hand make any kind of resurgence, repping their more comic accurate uniforms by the end of this season, it's basically a guaranteed, "You can't fool us, Charlie."
Are you in the movie?
No.
Liar!
And to the last 2 supporting characters, the Hulk and Sadie Sink's character, which I think we can all come to the reasonable, educated guess that it is indeed Jean Grey. I'm not too knowledgeable on the X-Men comics, but this shot alone basically confirms it, right? I think it's pretty weird to kick off the introduction to the mutants inside of a Spider-Man movie. And yes, I know that Miss Marvel in this universe is a mutant, but I, for one, didn't watch it, and I really don't want to. So for the majority of fans, if this does indeed turn out to be Jean Grey, this will be the first real appearance of a mutant within the MCU in an actual movie. So I don't know. And lastly, the Hulk or Bruce, I can't help but pray that his involvement in this movie is just helping Peter with his mutating DNA and act solely as a narrative utility character rather than a full-on mentor. Speaking of mutating DNA, are we really about to see Peter go full-on man-spider? I don't really have any real strong feelings about this, given my only experience with this plot point is when I was doing rewatches of the old 1994 show with my dad when I was a kid. Other than that distant and hazy memory, I'm not really familiar enough to have any strong feelings on this theory. While I think it has the potential to look really goofy in live action, if they're able to pull it off in a way that has a strong narrative payoff, with his mutation working as a physical embodiment of his mental anguish, it could work, maybe. Plus, I can't lie, I kind of like the idea of a Spider-Man movie having some crazy body horror elements in it. I'm just excited to see this character return to his roots. But what do you guys think? Are you hopeful that this movie will live up to the almost impossible hype that it has? Or do you think it's just going to be another MCU dud? I personally have extremely high hopes that this one could be really special, personally. Yeah, I don't know. It might bite me in the tush in a few months, but we'll see. But if you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching and enduring my ceaseless rambling. I can't thank you enough for watching and supporting. And with that, I'm out. Peace.